Pierre Gasly drives for Toro Rosso, and I'll tell you a whole lot more about him in just a moment. How much do you know about Frenchman Pierre Gasly? Yes, he drives for Toro Rosso, but in this video, I'll tell you a little bit more about the driver. Yes, he comes from Rouen in France. I won't even attempt the French pronunciation. He's a cool looking guy, very smooth in the paddock. I can tell you right now, you may not realise this, he's a great chess advocate. Loves the game, very competitive. So the first time I photographed Pierre was in Malaysia in 2017 when he drove for Toro Rosso. Here he is, very fresh-faced and clean-shaven. Here he is, still clean-shaven when he rolled up in Melbourne for his driver profile pic. That happens at the start of each season. Every driver comes down into the paddock, stands in front of this black backdrop, and 60 or so photographers take photos of them. The first time I really communicated with Pierre was just after I put this picture up on my Instagram page. It was taken in Baku, and Seb is greeting Pierre in the paddock at Baku in Azerbaijan. And a couple of hours after I put that up on my page, I get this contact from Pierre saying, "Hey, I love the picture, can I whack it on mine?" So I sent him a copy, and that was the start of my relationship with Pierre. Most of the time you'll see him in the paddock with his trainer, and his trainer's been with him for some years now. This is Pierre Salmela, another of the Finn trainers, and there are a number of them in F1. Here he is in the Red Bull colours earlier this year, and another shot of him going into the paddock in Austria from memory. The other lady you might see him with at the moment is Fabiana Valenti. That's the press officer from Toro Rosso. Got a pretty good relationship with Fabiana, and I like this photo, once again taken back in Azerbaijan when he's feeling pretty cocky back in 2018. Now, you'll more than likely see him in the company of Josh Cruz, who does a lot of the social media for Toro Rosso at the moment. And last year, in the paddock in Brazil, I found them doing this particular piece to camera. Josh was doing it. I was just hanging around waiting for a shot, and I got a shot. I got a great shot of Pierre candidly laughing and relaxed. I like this picture so much I printed it and I gave it to Pierre and asked him if he'd sign it, which he gladly did. And I like his note here. The team was trying to make me say a speech that didn't make any sense. Brazil 2018. And he signed it. At the start of this year, Pierre moved to Red Bull, partnering Max Verstappen. It was a pretty exciting opportunity for the young fella. With a new team come new press people. And Jacques Hextall-Smith was often seen at Pierre's side. Sometimes it was Jodie Porter as they wandered down the paddock to go to different corporate functions. But certainly a woman that you see at his side at a lot of races is his girlfriend, Kate Massetti-Zanini. She's a real character. Lovely lady. I'm a big fan of hers. You'll find that she's often at the races, particularly the European ones, whether they come via boat or perhaps on scooter, as was the case here in France. He does love a scooter, although he doesn't really like riding on the back of one. That's not a ride that any driver wants to take. I've photographed the pair a lot this year, and they tend to walk in hand, which is something not too many of the drivers do. I've also shot them away from the track, which is a rare opportunity, and you get to see them without logos on their clothing, and perhaps more natural, as was the case here in a restaurant in Barcelona. After the summer break, Pierre was relegated to Toro Rosso, and here's a shot of him with his lovely mother Pascale in the paddock in Germany. I've met his father, lovely man, Jean-Jacques. Never actually taken a photograph of the man, so that's his mum anyway. He's a good friend of fellow countryman Jean-Eric Vergne, who races in Formula E. And I always like the fact that he's keen to talk to the young kids on the grid when they come out for the national anthem. I know Pierre a little bit, and that has advantages for me as a photographer, obviously, because he's not shy about looking straight at my lens, and that enhances any photo when they look straight down the lens of your camera. Going back to Spain this year, I took this picture of Pierre in his Red Bull outfit and Alex in his Toro Rosso. Of course, that has now turned back, and it's vice versa. I like this image. It was taken on the Thursday at the Hungarian GP. And I just happened to come out into pit lane, and I see that he's grabbed Mark Thompson from Getty Images camera, and he's having a go at taking a photograph. Now, by the way he's holding his left hand on the lens, I'm going to suggest he's probably not that great a photographer, because as anyone would know, you would rarely hold it like that. He has a mop of hair, which when he comes out of the back of the garage after a race or qualifying, it needs some sort of taming. He's good friends with Charles Leclerc, often see them in the drivers' parade near each other, and I think that dates back to their early racing careers. This was just a fluke shot of the pair of them standing next to each other on the grid, because as you probably realise, where you stand on the grid is determined by where you qualify for the race. He's recently done a sponsorship deal with the headphone manufacturer Blommenberger. I've actually got a pair of these things here. They're pretty good. Wireless, and I do like this little thing here. The charging cable is built in to the top of the headphones. Yeah, nice bit of kit. My kids love them. Being a young F1 driver, he's going to be style conscious, and when it comes to the shoe department, he's enthusiastic in that respect. Pair of Gucci's here, some colourful kit here. I quite like his socks with the fingers down there. I don't know which brand they are, but I like them. Yeah, he's colourful in that side of things. Dress sense, Givenchy tops with holes in it there. This shot I like. Now, this is a little unusual. Capturing a driver coming in casual clothing on a non-Thursday is almost, well, is it? No, it doesn't happen anywhere else except in Brazil. And it only happens in Brazil because there is a security risk. So the drivers come in incognito. They can wear what they like, hardly any branding on them at all for the drivers when they come into the Brazilian Sao Paulo track. Jewellery-wise, this is what he wears on his right wrist. He wears a Casio watch at the moment because they're a Toro Rosso sponsor. Of course, when he was at Red Bull, he would have had to step up to a Tag Heuer. See that red backpack on his back? That's a Gucci backpack. I often see him wearing that. But last race, I did happen to notice this particular shot here of his, what is this? His swing badge. Have a look at the photo on there. I'm going to suggest that's many years old. A very young Pierre Gasly on his badge that he uses to get into the track. And when it comes to headwear, he's not afraid to be out there. Here he is in Mexico last year wearing a sombrero. Let me quickly run through a handful of photos that I've taken of Pierre in the car that I quite like. This shot coming around the final corner in Melbourne. Here he is in the Red Bull. A little tricky shot this one because you've got to zoom in at the same time you pan. Here he is kicking up plenty of sparks in Japan at the recent Grand Prix. Coming onto the main straight, and I quite love these shots where I go down to the back of the grid and capture the cars, and people think sometimes that, hey, that's mid-race, what are you standing on the track? But if you have a look carefully over here, you can see a guy in black pants and a white shirt, and I'm pretty sure that is a dead giveaway that it was not midway through a race. Kicking up some sparks again in the Toro Rosso, him looking at me from the cockpit of the Red Bull. And then 3 shots to finish with in Austria, a couple of sparks as he's heading away. The beautiful Austrian flag on the ground, both foreground and background, and a final Austrian pic with the typical forest that you have in the background and some lovely green grass in the foreground. And to finish it off, a couple of funny shots. The first time he ever attempted walking upstairs. I quite like this picture. And of course, you can't always look great. Here he is at a press conference, and unfortunately, he's blinked or winked at the precise moment I've hit the shutter button. So that's Pierre Gasly, a likeable Frenchman. I do hope he does well at Toro Rosso. He certainly seems a lot more relaxed since he's made the move back to the team. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future YouTube videos. Always happy to see your comments. You can own any of my images at prostarpics.com. My blogs and podcasts, you'll see them at kimillman.com, and pictures live from the track and all through the week at Instagram at kimillman. Thanks for watching and stay passionate.